Hey all, this is 012 Boku and...
Professional jackass Jarek here.
Yep, and we are here coming at you again with another review. This time, again, it is once again 24, and this will probably be the last episode for a while because I'll let you guys know. I'll give you sort of the rundown on the next ones. Probably going to be doing a bit more of our anime stuff in between so we can get through more of our anime and hopefully sometime, maybe this year, finish Brotherhood before we start the original show next. And I think we will keep doing the movies in between too. The movies are probably going to be a little bit slower, but just to let you know, we will do the movies. I believe that is Summer Rental next, but after we do, oh yes, Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, and this last one, we will be doing the Legion of Superheroes next for a couple episodes before we go to Twin Peaks. But I figured I'd give you the update. This will be our last 24 one for a while, but we are on hours, I think it was 3 a.m. and 4 a.m. as I look at my notes there. And in this hour, things keep picking up. We learned that Janet survived and lived from the getting hit, well, I was going to say crash, but getting hit by a car. You know, she's trying to get up or ask for help, but she's so dead messed up that she can't. Dan and Rick take Kim back to the cars. They're trying to basically rush her in, and they're basically gonna leave her there because Rick's like, let's get Janet, and Dan's like, no, forget her. We have who Gaines wants. Let's continue. So as this whole thing goes along, they're going away. Kim is making a big fuss. Dan wants Kim to shut up, and again, Kim is played by Alicia Cuthbert, and let's see, I think they have it. Yeah, I think they have it here. Let's see here. Oh yeah, Daniel Bass is Rick Allen, and Matthew Carey is Dan Mounts. And as it continues, they're arguing with each other and just going all off, and then all of a sudden, Dan's like, you know what, you both are right. We do need to go back for her. She's seen us. She can ID us, so got to take care of the problem. And Kim's like, you're going to kill her? You're going to kill Janet? She's like trying to stop Dan from driving the car, and then Dan wants Rick to take care of the problem. Dan's making, quips at Rick saying, hey, if you're not careful, she's going to tie you up and stop you. And then basically Rick backhands Kim, and then they tie her up and gag her, so she can't be a problem. And as this continues, because this sort of was the shortest side thing in the episode, and also Alan York and Terry are a part of this as well, and this will come into this as well. While they're going there, Dan and Rick get to Janet again, and Dan actually has, in a nice scene of build-up tension, his gun. I think it's, would you say that was a Beretta that Dan had?
Yeah, Beretta.
Yeah, he had a Beretta in hand, sticking it out the window all gangster style in a way, about to do a drive-by shooting of Janet. All of a sudden, though, an ambulance comes out of nowhere, and they have to abort the mission, and then they go off basically to see Gaines, because Gaines changed the meeting time. They get to Gaines, and both Rick and Dan are just like, oh, we don't want to mess with this guy, because Gaines' stare is just, I'll admit, I know I've seen the show before, but oh man, it's creepy how he just stares at both Dan and Rick. And let's see, Ira Gaines, who's brilliantly played by Michael Massey, just gives up this vibe, and he basically says, has she been any trouble? They're like, no, not at all, because he sees how she's tied up. And then he's like, where's the other one? He's like, well, we had to kill her. He's like, you made sure? He's like, yeah, we made sure. And he's like, okay. And then he says to Kim, if you behave, you'll be back in the mall in a day or two, and yada-da. And then what happens is that they're going to bring Gaines takes Kim, and Rick and Dan are going to meet Gaines at another location.
You know what the most impossible thing to believe in this part of the episode is?
What?
Well, two things. Number one, the paramedics actually getting there on time in Los Angeles. And number two, the fact that I haven't made this joke before. How the hell do you get around in L.A. without a car? Yeah, if anybody remembers that comic book, post that in the comments section.
I don't know what comic you're talking about there, Jarek, but you know more than me.
But it's like, oh man, look at her. She's pretty fucked up. What's the diagnosis there, doctor? Being a pedestrian in L.A.
Yeah.
Well, give her the Obamacare. Click, click.
Exactly. To that same point, while this is going on, we can go to Terry Bauer and Alan York. Again, Leslie Hope, and I believe, yeah, Leslie Hope, Terry Bauer, and yeah, who was, where are you again? I think you're here. Oh no, Alan York is not here, but I know who played Alan York. It's Richard Burgee who plays Alan York, and they're getting the way to get to their daughters. And what happens is a cop stops them and says, how fast we're going. They're trying to explain the situation. Cops sort of having none of it, and then he's gonna check on the situation for him because and also write him a ticket apparently. Alan York, which again a little stupid, but I can understand, is reasonably frustrated. He gets out of the car angry, tells the patrolman, hey, is there any way you can speed this up, give us our tickets? And then the patrolman just arrests Alan York for disobeying a direct order.
Well,
so now,
I think before that, like wisely, Mrs. Well, the soon-to-be ex-Mrs. Bauer tells the cop, we're my daughter called me. It's an emergency. She's in trouble. She's behind this store. We're trying to go get them. It's like, I phoned my husband. Surely it must have been radioed into your emergency services by now.
you're right.
So he says, I'll go back to the car and check. And York's getting pissed off as it's taking too long. He gets out. And of course, the police respond the same way. They always respond, unless OJ's involved.
Ooh.
But yeah, he basically, tackles him to the ground, arrests him, and it's like, part whatever it was, we do have a report of two females in trouble at this location. And, he does apologize and let them go, but it's like, shouldn't have disobeyed a direct order. Yeah, whatever, go hunt John Connor, why don't you?
Yeah, and Alan York even calls the cop an idiot for his trouble. They had a way. But sadly, during this time, there was a little scene where Kim, Dan, and Rick passed them while they were stopped by the cop, and they also get to the accident site a little too late, so, they don't know what's going on. But they stop and ask a homeless lady, do you know what happened? Was there anyone hurt? These are our children. And she's like, you shouldn't let your children come down here. They shouldn't be here. And they're like, well, please, one of them may be in trouble. Do you know what happened? Well, she got hit by a car. And they're like, was she okay? She didn't look good. And they're like, where's the closest hospital? Do you remember where the hospital? Oh.
Well, I believe what they asked her is where did they take her? And she said closest one would be, what was it, like St.
I was about to say, I think it's St. Mark's, because that's
St. Mark.
That's what I was gonna. That's what I was gonna ask was what hospital. But yeah, I think it was St. Mark's Hospital. So Alan York and Terry Bauer are taking off to that location. To that same time, we could probably get to. We'll get to this one. We basically have David Palmer and the other side story come back to the suite. Sherry's all worried about him, and so is Keith. Keith and David have this thing where they have a strong connection as father and son, and then, Sherry's worried about David. David's like, oh, don't worry, it's fine, and, but Sherry tells David Palmer the truth, as does, Agent Aaron, Special Agent Aaron Pierce, and again, Dennis Haysbert plays Senator David Palmer. I think it's Penny, where is she? Is she here? Oh, yeah, but I know who it is. Penny Johnson-Gerald plays Sherry Palmer, and you have Glenn Morshower, who does Aaron Pierce. And what happens is that, but she's saying, you have an assassination out for you. And then, Aaron Pierce confirms it as well. And, he's telling him the seriousness of the value of this, that you're a high priority target. You and the whole family could be at risk. He walks away, and then Sherry's like, this is dangerous, sweetie. And he's like, honey, I thought this was something serious. Just playing it off that it's no big deal.
And I think, he even said something like that to the agent. It was like,
Oh,
You
I
know,
get threats every morning with my orange juice. Yeah, you're
yeah,
right.
and then he's
Yeah.
like, "You do realize we just received word that a 737 got downed outside of LA," and he also mentions like, "Do you we?" I think David Palmer asked, "Might this have anything to do with the upcoming photo shoot?" And then they have an argument. It's like,
Oh,
I
the
can't,
breakfast, the
yeah, I
breakfast.
can't not go to this breakfast. All the big, business leaders, union leaders in LA are going to be there. I need to do this, and I love the fact that he's already well apprised that they're probably going to use the photographer angle to get close to him.
Well,
And,
you would
and
have
this,
to think, yeah.
yeah, and with the 737 he was on being down, it's like, you understand why he's pissed off when he talks with his wife, but you can definitely see where the agent's coming from. It's like, these assholes took down a 737, the timing's way too auspicious. I'm just saying, a lot of coincidences, and there are no coincidences in politics.
Yeah, and well, into that moment, because Jarek just let the cat out of the bag there, Palmer was upset with something, but not, I mean, he was about because he didn't want to cut the breakfast short, but there was another reason, which is why right now I call this a side plot to his main plot of his assassination, which is the side plot is, we have word that right after that he talked with Carl Webb, one of his staff members, is played by Zach Grenier, and Carl said he found a name of George Ferragamo, and Palmer seems to know it, hangs up the phone, goes to his wife to finally tell her the truth, and she's like, well, what's up? What's bothering you? He's like, Maureen Kingsley called me a couple hours ago and said that it was a story, uprising and involving Keith. And she's like, so what of it? And he's like, that boy Lyle Gibson who raped Nicole? And she's like, yeah, what about Lyle Gibson? I thought like he fell out of a window and committed suicide. Well, according to this Dr. George Ferragamo, it wasn't, suicide. It was that Keith had confided in Ferragamo that he had killed Lyle Gibson and pushed him out the window. And Sherry's like, oh, no, 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 no. Our son could never have murdered somebody. There's no way he would be involved in this. You've got to stop this, David. And, they're having that bit of back and forth. And then Sherry Palmer's like, what are you going to do about Maureen Kingsley? Why would she do this now? And it's like, well, that's the thing. Why now of all days? Why now of all times? And we were always good with Maureen Kingsley. So what is prompting this? And it just leaves it up in the air.
Now, interestingly enough, I have a feeling I know why they took this particular angle with it being the therapist who heard him, quote unquote, confess about pushing the guy out the window. See, this is something they're not going to teach you about police, therapists, psychiatrists, all that shit. Like, whatever you say, it doesn't really matter, like, if they, made a suggestion, well, maybe you were in a fit of anger and you just blotted out the memory in order to avoid the mental trauma. No, 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 no. See, the thing is, they will try to make these little suggestions, these coaxing little things, and it doesn't really matter whether it's conclusive or not. And I know, circumstantial evidence doesn't count in court. Technically. See, the thing is, if you don't argue or disagree with it, or if you don't have emphaticable proof that your emotions didn't persuade you to try something like that, or that you didn't even entertain the idea, or that you were so clear-headed you wouldn't, they could still make that case, and believe me, it's been done plenty of times, so just remember, you have the right to remain silent, and it's there for your protection, not theirs.
Exactly, and with that good premise, we move on to sort of the double intersecting plot line because you have Jack and Nina sort of fixing things up in this episode, sort of meeting eye to eye, as well again with Jamie and trying to move forward with this assassination attempt and finding out the truth. Although, if you guys remember what we said from the last episode, you had Tony Almeida, who is Carlos Bernard, who called or not called the cops, he called the main heads of district, and George Mason, played by Xander Berkeley, comes back and makes a sting saying that they're going to shut down CTU because they're about to get the truth because Tony sort of let a cat out of the bag for his own reasons. And again, we don't know if there's sinister reasons or if well, I do, but again, we don't know if it's for sinister reasons or to protect Nina. It sounds like he's trying to protect Nina and protect the whole CTU building, but he's the one who called it. And what happens is there's this lockdown, and right at this lockdown, Jamie, believe I got the address. Oh yeah, San Fernando Road 18116, where there's a connection to this assassination plot. So Jack has to get out of here and go towards it. Jack asks Nina and Jamie to cover for him. Jack slips out the back. There's an agent stopping Jack saying, "Oh, there's a full lockdown." "Oh, come on, man. I was just going to go to my car to get a cigarette." "Oh, no worries, man. I've heard that before, but you're not going out there." And he's like, "Your car keys." He's like, "Okay, you can have the keys." Drops them. Big gut punch, and out the door he goes.
Yep.
And then before we follow with the next part with Jack, George basically knows from the agent who got gut punched that he got away. Nina, who's played by Sarah Clark, and Jamie, I believe we have. Oh yeah, there she is right there. What is it? Oh, Karina Arroyave, who plays Jamie Farrell, basically are like talked to by George. And what happens is George is gonna talk to all the employees, but he knows he has to really focus on Jamie and Nina. He first starts with Nina, thinking he can sweet talk her and saying, "So, how's things with Jack?" "It's none of your business, George." "Oh, come on, Nina, I know how this is. You know he's doing something. He leaves you high and dry, and you had a relationship for him. You did all this, didn't matter. And you know what? We thought you were going places, and you know who's been holding you back? Jack."
Yeah, I mean, you can kind of see Tony Almeida's just as willing to go a little gray, but Jack is willing to do it and then some.
And that's the thing. Like, George Mason just plays up this guilt card saying, "Come on, you help me out with Jack. I'll give you a chance to go up at this place to do what you need. What is it going to take?" Nina thankfully does not cave. She leaves the office. She warns Jamie, though, to keep her guard up because George is headhunting. And, George eventually calls Jamie, and Jamie's in there, and he's like, "Okay, Jamie, here's the thing. I know you're covering for Jack. If you don't tell me what it is, bad things will happen. You do tell me what it is, good things will happen, and you can go about your day." So he really lays it into her, but then right towards the end of the episode, they find out where Jack is and where shots were fired from and what had happened. And, Mason is ending the lockdown, packing everything up. And, he leaves Jamie B, but then he goes up to Nina right before they leave, and he's like, "We found Jack. He's at, the San Fernando Road address." And she's like, "Is Jack okay?" "We don't know yet, but we'll find out." And he just says, "Nina, off the record, what do you see in Jack Bauer?"
Well, and you know what's funny that I kind of think Tony didn't pick up on in this episode is, I almost think that Nina doesn't want to go higher up in the division because she seems like the kind of girl who, to me, wants to be getting the work done on the field level. She probably already knows how bullshit the upper heads of division are. She doesn't want that noise. It's like, and plus, she gets to hang out with Jack Bauer all day long, so, double win there.
Yes, absolutely. And then, that sort of ends that storyline. And then to the main part of the storyline again with Jack. Jack goes to the location again. It's 18116 San Fernando Road. And he gets there, and it looks like it's a warehouse district in a part of LA. He gets there. He goes in. All of a sudden, there is this man who we don't know his name to the end, but I'll give you it right now. Thought it was George Pentecoff, but it's Greg Pentecoff, who's played by John Hawkes. And he goes in, he has his gun drawn, and Pentecoff just comes out of the corner smoking a cigarette, but they notice each other, and then Jack's gonna do his thing, hands in the air, but Pentecoff just takes out a gun, starts firing. Jack starts chasing. While the chasing and firing is going on, you actually have a cop who stops, and it's Yolanda Ross, who played Jessie Hampton. She stops and reports it in that there's shots fired at the address. She goes in, and out comes Pentecoff, and Bauer's chasing her. She tries to get Pentecoff to stop. He keeps going. Jack comes out. She holds him up. She's understandably nervous. We get it, but Jack like puts his hands up, does everything right, shows her the ID, throws it to her more like, and she sees it, and off to the races for the chases. These two sort of working together
And
temporarily.
this is kind of a great time capsule for the time period because this officer is rocking a pretty nice Foxy Cleopatra afro. Let's just say. I mean, there's some good afro sheen on that son of a bitch. You take good care of your fro there, young lady.
you
Well,
can't get over that, can you?
I can't because I mean nowadays you try and rock a righteous 70s little Foxy like
Oh,
that, you're
yeah.
gonna get in trouble with the higher ups. But it's just kind of nice to see some of the stuff that reminds us that hey, once upon a time LA was well, okay, it was still LA, but it wasn't as bad as it is now.
Well, yeah, absolutely, and to that same point, we go into the part of this chase where they're both sort of like working together. Pentecost is taking steps to stay ahead of them. They're trying to track him down. There was a few times where they both of them never got shots off because they're trying to stop Pentecost. They're not trying to kill him. And sadly, there's one time where Terry tries to call Jack. Jack's phone's still on. The phone goes off, and Jack, tells Hampton, take cover as Pentecost gets off 2 shots and starts running. And there's actually a thing while in this warehouse they're chasing Pentecost. There's a Spanish custodian who comes out of nowhere. It's like Dios mío,
A totally legal immigrant, by the way.
maybe.
Ay, Dios mío, don't shoot.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden, like as soon as he comes out and yells that, Jack and her both telling the man to duck. He ducks, and yeah, Pentecost just came out right after he ducked. So lucky that guy got down.
If I remember, didn't she tell him in Spanish, get down, and as soon as we're gone, stay put was what she told him. It's like,
Yes, she
get
said
down,
in Spanish
take cover,
to stay put, yeah.
and stay put.
And then that was a cool little thing because coming up here, they actually get to the outside. They actually get to the outside, and like we said, Jesse Hampton and Colton, the shots fired at the location. So the cops show up. There's a helicopter, and they're actually in between in this factory area. What looks like a bunch of porter potties, and they're basically going in between them. And Jack and Hampton are trying to chase him down. And what happens is Hampton, we see, is around this one corner of the other side of the porter potties. And then she's about to like peek out and take a look. All of a sudden, as soon as she turns, she has her gun drawn because she sees somebody. And it's sadly, whether Pentecost found him or not, or whether he was scared and was just trying to get out of there, she's pointing her gun at the custodian, and he's like freaking out in Spanish again. And she's like, "I told you to stay put." And then sadly, that opens her up to be taken hostage by Pentecost. Pentecost like yelling at Jack, saying, "Drop your gun, or I'm gonna do her." Jack comes out of the corner and sees this, and Hampton's saying, "No, don't. He'll kill us both. He'll kill us both. Don't do it." But then cleverly, as Jarek pointed out earlier, where she spoke Spanish, Jack could speak it too, and he said in Spanish, "As soon as I drop my gun," and he's like, "Speak English, asshole, speak English, what are you saying?" And then he's like, "I'm gonna drop my gun, I'm gonna drop my gun," and he drops the gun real fast, and then he tells Hampton to move it. Hampton, I think, back elbowed him or shoved him away, but you hear a shot go off, he clocks him, taking him down, and then he's trying to restrain him, and he's telling Hampton, "Throw me your cuffs," but then sadly you see Hampton got shot in the neck because you see there's blood coming out where she was on the ground, and it's like, oh crap.
I just realized his name's probably not Pentecost, it's probably Pennycoff, because it's European and the T's probably silent.
But
when I saw that his name was Pentecost, Pennycoff, I was like, this guy's probably European. I bet the reason why this plan worked is he doesn't speak. He doesn't say habla español, but I thought that was just such a funny trick for Bauer to pull. It's like this guy's probably a bit of a snowbird. I bet he doesn't say habla español like all of us like all of the proper people of California. And he was like, what? I'm going to play a fast one on this guy. I'm going to pretend I'm just another dumb white boy trying to appease the Hispanics. And, again, this is why I love Bauer, man. The dude is always thinking.
Yep. And to that point, it's like, we move on to the next scene. We see they're taking Jesse Hampton's body away in an ambulance. And that's where Jack asks her name, and we find out what her name is. And then he's like, I need to question Pentecost or question the perp. And he's like, well, in case you haven't noticed, this dude shot a cop. He's like, look, this is very important. I have to get it done. He's like, not more important than this to these guys. And, all the cops are basically around Pentecost. Like, if they could, just bam, 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 like beat the crap out of this dude. Because they probably would want to because, again, even though things have changed now, guys, there is still, like, honor among police in a lot of areas, and that means a lot when one of theirs goes down, especially if they were close to the team. So yeah, like these guys, understandably, would love to kick the crap out of this guy.
I mean, dude, they shot Jackie Brown. I mean, they're about to turn that asshole into Mr. Pink, if you know what I mean.
Indeed. And like what happens is Jack sort of pleads with the captain, who's Sergeant Kiley, who's played by John Cothran. Pleads to him for more time. He gives it to him, saying, like, you have a minute or 2 minutes, whatever it was.
I think it was 5 minutes, but yeah.
Oh yeah, you have 5 minutes. And, Jack talks with Pentecost really quick, and then all of a sudden he's like, you need to get me out of here. He's like, no, you're gonna tell me what you know, and then you're gonna go with these cops. Look, I won't survive. You'll be fine with them. I'm pretty sure if you behave, they won't do anything bad with you. Oh, it's not them that I'm worried about. It's something else. And if you don't get me out of here, the same thing's going to happen to you and your family, Bauer. And he's like, how do you know my name? He's like, how do you know my name? And then they come up to Pentecost, take him away. He's like, I know more than that, Bauer. I know if you ever want to see your daughter again, you'll get me out of here. And he's like, what? And like he's trying to get to him. Cops are holding Jack back, and he's like, I'm fine. And then run to his car, zoom to his car, and one point to heal at home for the character of Jesse Hampton. He gets into his SUV. We see Hampton's car on the side of the road still. So basically, what's already been lost to this whole thing, and it's like now more of the plot's revealed, and that's where it ends. And oh man, what an episode! And now we'll go into characters that did this. I have to say, I mean, again, probably going to say it every time. Kiefer Sutherland, Jack Bauer, can't get no better. Great guy, just good actor, great performance in this episode. I also have to give it to, I mean, there were several people who I think were really good in this. Oh, gee. Wow, James McDonald was the highway officer. I did not know that. Yeah, Officer I Mary 38. I did not know that. Well, sorry, that's a little side thing there. But yeah, I have to say for this one, even though Nina Myers as Sarah Clark was really good. A lot of other characters were really good. I will give a dark horse favorite to Ira Gaines, Michael Massey. That creepiness he gave in this episode. Ooh, but I have to give number 2 to Xander Berkeley, George Mason. The stuffed shirt that he is, trying to grill everybody, put the screws in. I mean, he's got an arrogant suaveness that just works, that he just brings out, that you're just like, you are the biggest jerk, but he pulls it off so well. I absolutely love it. So I got to give the extra edge to him. How about you, Jericho? Who are your favorites?
Well, I hate the idea that I have to give it to Bauer every time as the best, because, I mean, we know he's going to be the best. So, you know
absolutely.
What? I'm going to save him for the dark horse favorite, because we know Bauer's the best. I mean, that's just a given. So instead, I will choose who played Greg Mason again?
George Mason, Xander Berkeley.
To Mr. Xander Berkeley, because it is just the most interesting of ooze. Almost as good as Ivan's ooze, but not quite there. And as for my second, let me see. I'm going to give it to Mr. Dennis Haysbert as
Senator David Palmer.
Indeed. And if you think this is going to be his best, no, children. Mr. Palmer is going to show just how amazing the power of Bizarro Obama is later on.
I have to say, he was definitely high on the list, too. It was really hard, but I'm like, I'm going to give the edge to George Mason. I was saying that while we were watching this episode, but yeah.
You need a little of Greg Mason's ooze.
But yeah, Dennis Haysbert really gave a great performance, as did, I'll give a quick shout out. I know she's not in the cast list here, but I will give a quick shout out to Sherry Palmer, Penny Johnson-Gerald, who plays his wife, for a good performance as well. And it's just great stuff, great episode all around. And final thoughts, it builds so well just after 3 episodes, and it's just like the stakes are getting higher, there's more tension, It's like, what are we going to learn? What's Bauer going to learn? What is Kim's role in this going to be? Why did they take Kim? What is really at stake here? What is really going on? Because it seems like Palmer and Bauer are intertwined. Why is that? You'll find out and you'll know. I mean, I know the truth, but you guys will know. And I hope you've been enjoying these reviews. How about you, Jared? Final thoughts?
And you know what I really love about this being the hours between 3 and 4?
What?
According to the internet, that's when all the weird, crazy shit in the world happens. Like
that is true.
When you ask your Alexa, it's like, hey, is Jack Bauer watching me? I am not allowed to tell you that. And also, speaking of that, I always feel like Jack Bauer's watching me, and I have no privacy.
Well, no, absolutely. Well, then, those are our thoughts, guys. What are yours? Leave comments down in the section below, and we will get back to you again. So until our nenext review, this is 012 Boku, and...
Jarek the Jackass, until Mr. Bauer tells me otherwise.
Oh, well, we will see you guys again, and thank you for enjoying 24. We will try to get back to this as soon as we can, but first part is down. We'll meet you guys again somewhere down the line with the other one with this, but until then, deuces.
Deuces.